We are back as UFC Saudi Arabia. Yes, the UFC is now out there. I'm sure Dana White couldn't refuse the big offer. Saudi take over boxing. Are they going to take over the UFC next? Right? They're already trying to take over golf. Not working too well. But boxing, their hands definitely in that sport. Next is the UFC. Interesting to see how this event will go. Already some issues, right, with the card, especially in the main event. Early start time. Keep that in mind, guys. 12 p.m. Eastern time. Early start time. A big change at the top of this card. I was really excited for this Chimaev versus Whitaker fight, guys. But again, Chimaev gets sick, cannot fight. This isn't the first time, guys, with Chimaev. So now when he's starting to be scheduled for fights, you got to be worried, right? If he's going to make the scales. Steps in Aliskerov. A huge step up, an opportunity for him. I'll break down that fight in the main card like usual, provide free picks, leans, price talk, and more. Audio only this week and maybe the last week. Office is almost ready. Should be ready by next week. We will see. Back on video for people that like to watch on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, big shout out to all the listeners. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for personal plays, client comments, free picks, resume, records, and more. Fight night card last week. Weird ending to the main event, right? Perez got hurt with a knee injury. He seemed to fall the wrong way when Terrell fell on him. Some people think he did that on purpose. No, he didn't. He had the back control. It was a close fight up until that. I think Perez won the first round. But he's already talking a title shot. Now, I know that division, you could get fairly quickly to a title shot. I expect a Japanese fighter to get that title shot at one point. But it wasn't like he was like totally controlling the fight or something and he was just outclassing Perez. That wasn't the case. But hey, I love the way he gets back control. Great grappler. Love to see him get a title shot at some point. Right? Technically won the fight, right? He won the fight. And he does stay undefeated. Very low volume card for me. I only played one parlay. I didn't like much. If you guys listened to the podcast last week, I mentioned that as well. I did have Armfield hit the other two bets, but Armfield ruined the plans. Looked good in the second round, right? He hurt Brady on the feet, knocking him down twice, but he just got out grappled and out muscled. So impressive to Brady there, winning as a fairly nice size underdog. Let's do a little record update here, guys. 21-2 pay-per-view run, 91%. This is a fight night card, so not a pay-per-view. The pay-per-view run is not on the line. 36-17, guys. That's 70% all cards. Average line plus money. Please keep that in mind, guys. 69% 2-5 parlays, 2023, 2024. Currently handicapping, guys. Since obviously NHL, NBA's over. NHL's pretty much over. Probably won't have any more bets in the NHL. I didn't bet any of the finals for NBA or NHL. But I'm currently handicapping, obviously, UFC every week, PGA every week, Euro Cup as well right now, Copa America at low volume, and then NFL is around the corner. Busy times, guys. Busy times. Let's get right into this card. Shop around. Have the best sportsbook out there. Have multiple sportsbooks out there. Depending on your region, a lot of good sportsbooks. So many out there in the market now. I review sportsbooks all the time for companies. And there are just so many available to people out there. Find your favorite book. I can't say, my favorite book is this because, it might not be yours. Right? It depends what you like in a sports book. So there's so many available right now. Have access to multiple ones so you can get the best price out there. It does vary from sportsbook to sportsbook. Main event. Whitaker minus 160 versus Aliskerov plus 130. A wild change to the main event in Saudi Arabia. That Saudi Arabian fans, Turkey al-Sheikh, they must be upset. All right, this was supposed to be a great fight on paper. Chimaev versus Whitaker, sign me up. Couldn't wait to see that. I already doing my research. I already had some notes on this fight. Now it gets pulled Chimaev obviously sick. I'm hearing different things. I'm hearing food poisoning. I don't know what it is true. His trainer, I think, one of the guys he trains with came out and said it's not food poisoning. So it's hard. It's hard to know what to believe. But we saw him sick badly in bed. Wasn't an injury. It looked like he was just sick. So this happened before, guys. So he does seem like he has some health issues. I remember he had COVID for a very long time as well, too. Maybe that's lingering over. I'm not too sure. But either way, Askarov was supposed to fight last week. Remember, we talked about him in the fight. Heavy favor. What was he, minus 1,200 in that fight against a nobody? This is a huge step up for the guy. Big change of opponent, right? A huge change. Fun fact, he only has one loss, right? Guess who it was against? Chimaev in the regional scene. He actually got knocked out in the first round. That's something to keep in mind here, guys. Right, so Chimaev out, Askarov in, the guy he lost to. Kind of makes sense. A little bit about Askarov. You know, he's a multiple-time world Sambo champion. Can wrestle. Some good wrestling. I wouldn't say he's very technical on the feet. I don't think his boxing is incredible, but he does have power. Does have power in his hands, guys. He's averaging over 2 takedowns per fight. Only 33% takedown accuracy is not great. He does throw a ton of volume at over 8 significant strikes per minute. Now, only 2 fights to look at. His resume is weak, right? Alves and Phil Hawes. Going from Wally Alves and Phil Hawes to Robert Whittaker, I don't think there's a bigger gap you can think of. Has there been a bigger gap in competition? Alves, Hawes to Whittaker? I'm sure there has been, but I can't think of one right now, guys. And you're getting Robert Whittaker, one of the best in this division, who's fought the best of the best, champion, etc. This is just a huge step up in competition for the Russian. And at plus 130, just there's not enough value there to find out. And Whittaker at minus 160, I think, is a good line. Very hard for me to stay off this price at minus 160. You know, Whittaker, I expect to be a little quicker in there, cleaner striker. Probably won't hit as hard, but you have the better boxing. Should have a nice jab in there. And I think his takedown defense is good, right? 82% takedown defense. So I think that could hold up here, that 80% takedown defense. I do expect the Russian probably try to get this fight down to the ground at some point if he's not able to, hurt Whittaker on the feet. And we have seen Whittaker obviously rock before on the feet, right? He has been chin-checked. Can the Russian do that to him here? Obviously it's a 5-round fight, which favors Whittaker. He's been training for 5 rounds. Askarov hasn't. He's also been training for Chimaev. And training for, if you look at Chimaev, Askarov, what they're good at, it's fairly similar. Right? Chimaev, I would give him more of a wrestling advantage. But, it's not a drastic change in opponent. For Askarov, it is. It's a huge, he's fighting some bum, and now you're fighting Robert Whittaker. You got to also think about the tough travel spot here, guys. Askarov, I think he trains out of Florida, then he went to Vegas. He was in Vegas, canceled the fight. Now this was just last weekend. Now goes to Saudi Arabia, big time change. When did he get there, right? Then he has to cut weight again. A lot going on for him here, guys. A lot is going on for Askarov. If he wins this fight, I'll tip my cap to him. And he could. He could hurt Whittaker on the feet. He does have that power, and he could be the next big thing. He's a high-rated prospect. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy. But at plus 130, against a guy like Robert Whittaker with pretty much nothing going for him, hasn't been able to train for Robert Whittaker. Travel spot. Has to cut weight again. 5 rounds. There's just nothing that says, let's bet Askarov here. Then again, he could catch Whittaker. It's possible. Again, Whittaker hasn't been training for him as well. I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is that training for Chimaev and then training for him, it's not a drastic difference. They have similar skill sets. So I don't think it will affect Whittaker as much as it will on Askarov. So the play has to be Whittaker here for me. May make my client card. I watched the weigh-ins and everything, and I do think the Whittaker only loses this fight. There probably could be 2 ways. Obviously, he catches him with a big shot, Askarov. Possible, right? I'm not saying it can happen, Whitaker, obviously smart fighter, veteran fighter. I don't think it will. I think he'll be able to avoid that power. And it's possible that Askarov could really just out-wrestle him. It is possible. And, keep him down. How will he look in the third round? Or if it gets deeper than that, how will he look if he continues to try to wrestle, right? So, again, have to go Whitaker here. Not enough value there. Hasn't proved to me he can beat a guy at this level in Whitaker. Whitaker's been there, done that. Askarov hasn't. So, first show me before betting, on him at this low value price, low plus money price. It's not enough meat on the bone for me to find out. Give me Whitaker in this spot. Pavlich minus 225 versus Volkov plus 187. Two friends, two Russians, and we get to see them battle it out Saturday in the co-main event. Probably more obviously interested in this fight, to be honest, than the main event now. But I'm actually interested to see how the Russian does Askarov against a high-level competition in Whitaker. Interesting to see how this one goes, right? These two Russians, they both know each other's game well. Volkov has the experience advantage, obviously the resume advantage as well. Pavlich was on that nice run until he got stopped by Tom Aspinall, who could be one of the best heavyweights in the world right now. Funny enough, Volkov's last loss was against Tom Aspinall. After that loss a few years back, he's won 3 straight fights. Rosenstruik, Romanov, Tuivasa. Lower level guys, right? Lower level guys. We don't put Pavlich in that category. So Volkov should win those fights. And he did win those fights. Right? It's just this price, guys. It's very difficult for me to pull the trigger on a minus 225 Pavlich bet against a Volkov veteran at that value price plus 187. How do you bet Pavlich at this price minus 225? Wow. And a heavyweight bout, guys. Difficult. Now he could come out, look like a stud and knock him out in the first round. That's what he does. Pavlich. That's what he does. But keep in mind, though, Pavlich hasn't been out of the first round since 2017. He has all first round finishes or finished in the first round. Volkov's a veteran. Volkov's a veteran. He should be able to avoid that power, I would think. He could also maybe try to throw in some grappling, guys. Volkov can wrestle. He does have some grappling as well. It'll be interesting to see if he goes to that. If Pavlich is threatening him and pressuring him, it'll be interesting to see if Volkov goes that way and tries to grapple, get this against the cage. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy to take down Pavlich. We haven't seen him much. Obviously, Pavlich doesn't go for any takedowns. It'll be interesting to see, but I think Volkov could also win this fight on the feet if he uses his distance management, good jab. He's just going to have to avoid that big shot. And again, like I said, it's a heavyweight fight. Anything can happen. One shot from Pavlich, you go night-night. Pavlich has some heavy hands, guys. Heavy hands. Not a fight I'll be betting on personally. However, the only way I would be able to play it, even if I think Pavlich has a chance, you got to take a shot on Volkov at the plus money. If you want to bet this fight. It's just too high risk, this fight for me. Two heavyweights know each other well. Both Russians. Pavlich, we know, he could finish a guy in the first round, catch Volkov. You don't see it often, though, right? You don't see Volkov getting knocked out clean too often. Due to his management on the feet, his distance management on the feet, his jab, his excellent striking, long legs, long kicking game as well. So I won't be betting this fight personally this week. Excited to watch it, though. And I would maybe even lean this fight to get out of the first round if you can get a decent price at it. Again, I don't see Volkov knocking out Pavlich in the first round. I think Volkov wins this fight if it gets deeper into the fight. Like I said, Pavlich never been outside of first round since 2017, guys. Not a cardio king. Volkov, we know. We've seen Volkov in 5-round fights before. We know Volkov has solid cardio. Should be exciting fight to watch. Gaslam minus 250 versus Rodriguez plus 200. Yikes, Gaslam at this price? At this point of his career against anybody? Minus 250? 3 losses in his last 4. Tough performance versus Brady last time out. where he got dominated on the ground. Remember, he went down in weight here. Just looked weak. Didn't look strong. I like Brady. I think Brady is an excellent grappler, very strong, and he was able to prove that against Gastelum. I get it. This matchup is good for Gastelum on paper. Rodriguez ain't taking you down, guys. He wants to just have a boxing fight. The way Gastelum wins this fight is to take down Rodriguez. Not great takedown defense at 63%. We've seen a lot of guys take down Rodriguez in the past. That's where Gastelum wins this fight. If it's on the feet, 3 rounds, flip of a coin. Split decision style, I don't know. Goes to the judges, anyone wins this fight. Now, Rodriguez also coming off 2 losses as well, back-to-back losses over a possible champion, Ian Gary. No shame there. Caught him with a head kick, though. How does guys bounce back after a KO like that? Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's not always positive, bouncing back off a tough finish like that. And he lost to a tough Neil Magny. Magny will give you a tough fight. So no easy fights in there for Rodriguez. Gastelum, I put at that level. I would say Gary would run through Gastelum at this time, but Magny, Gastelum probably win that fight, but I would have him at that level. Question here is, will Gastelum stay to the game plan and try to wrestle and get this fight down to the ground? I don't know. And at minus 250, I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out if he's going to just stick to a heavy wrestling, grappling, hold him against the cage type of fight. Because we know Rodriguez has some hands on the feet. Right? If there's a boxing fight for 3 rounds, Rodriguez could win this fight. Play for podcast purposes will have to be Gastelum. Again, I just look at pricing. If you don't care about pricing, bet Gastelum here. I think it's a good matchup for him. But he's going to have to make an MMA fight and not a boxing fight. I think he does that. I think he tries to wrestle here. He's going to know Rodriguez is not a great wrestler or wrestles at all, to be honest. 63% takedown defense could be exploited. A lot of guys have taken down Rodriguez that aren't even great wrestlers. Naimov minus 110 versus Lima minus 110. Tough one to call here. The price will tell you that. And you don't see a lot of these anymore, right? I love seeing these minus 110 even fights all around. And we actually have 2 in a row. Barely see one on a card or on a main card. Now we're seeing 2 in a row here. I'll talk about both of them. This was actually replaced on the main card. This was a prelim fight. If it stays, right? I don't know. Things could change, right? But Magomedov, his opponent dropped out. So now in comes another fighter. I think this got dropped down to the main card. Either way, we'll talk about this fight. Naimov has won 6 fights in a row quietly. 3 of those in the UFC over guys like Malarkey. Decent win. The important win here is Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood's a really good fighter, guys. Nice win over Wood, and then Eric Silva after that. I think Eric Silva got hurt in that fight. So I really wouldn't call it much of a win, but hey. Naimov, excellent leg kicks. That's what I like from him. He'll throw leg kicks. He'll throw kicks. Throws very hard. And he can wrestle. One knock on him is his cardio. He does gas later in fights. So if Lima could prolong this fight into the 2nd, 3rd round, advantage Lima. Lima's making his debut, moving up in a weight class. That's what's concerning here. That's why I would only be able to look at Naimov if I had to bet this fight. Don't have to bet the fight, but I could only look his way due to there's some unknowns of Lima moving up a weight class, right? And Naimov is already a big guy for his weight class. One thing though on Lima, right? This guy doesn't know what it's like to lose. He hasn't lost a fight since 2015. Yes, all on the regional scene, I get it. But when you're just in a winning ways like that, for this long, probably was at 8-9 years, you're just continuing to win, and when you don't know how it feels to win. And this guy could be really good, right? But this is a tough test against Naimov, and that's why this minus 110 is here at this price. Because the books and UFC knows Lima's a good fighter. Can he do it up a weight class? I don't know. Right? I don't know. You're going to have to watch and find out. But as of right now, it would have to be Naimov. Not going to make my client card, of course. It's just a very flip of a coin type of fight. And I stay away from those when I don't find a side that I really like. So staying away from this fight. Lean Naimov just due to, Lima's making a debut. Naimov's on a nice win streak as well. Obviously, the better resume. Nathaniel Wood, nice win there. Lima hasn't fought anyone close to a Nathaniel Wood. So give me Naimov here at the even money. Fun one to open up the main card, guys. We got Johnny Walker. Yes, Johnny Walker's back. -110 versus Ozdemir. -110. Another even fight here. Lines could be moving, right? Maybe Walker -110. Line's been moving a lot on this fight. I think there's a good price for Walker here. All right, Walker's coming off a loss to Ankalaev, but it's just a bad matchup for him, Ankalaev, right? This one should be better suited for him. I think this is a good matchup for Walker if he can use his athleticism. It's going to be a lot more athletic than Ozdemir. Going to be quicker in there. Going to have a nice reach advantage and height advantage here. 8-inch reach, guys. So if he continues to fight how he is, how he's down in Ireland, they have him working over there, and he's more of a complete fighter, right? He's not fighting like, a wild man in there. They're really trying to get him as a technical style fighter and use that big size and athleticism. If he sticks to that game plan, I think he beats up Ozdemir. He can also wrestle too, right? Maybe try to get this fight down on the ground. Obviously Ozdemir could catch Walker. We've seen Walker hurt multiple times in fights. So I think that's Ozdemir's path here, catching him with a big shot. But a lot of that is past when these big guys are going to war, guys. Right? You can always get caught with a big shot. But I like Walker bouncing back here due to this just athleticism and the size advantage here. Give me Walker here in the spot, -110. Good price, I think. I think it's a great price. Ozdemir, obviously, savvy vet. We get that. He has a good shot to win here. I have Walker winning this fight probably 7 out of 10 times. So I think this is a pretty good price at -110. I would have this more maybe -150 on Walker. So Walker could make my client card this weekend. Of course, with a little risk, so probably a smaller unit. That will do it, guys. That will do it. UFC Saudi Arabia. Card's still pretty good. Still a pretty good card, even though we lost the main event. Probably see more cards out in Saudi Arabia, especially because that main event fell off. I'm sure he's already negotiating to get another card out there. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy this card.